Okay, let's go ahead and get started on today's stream. Welcome back to another Pega study session. I'm your host, Strangebro Jim, um, and we're going to be continuing where we last left off with the next Pega topic. Um, got notified from Blackheart that there will not be any Unreal. He's dealing with a lot right at this moment in time, so and that's perfectly fine. It's understandable. Real life can get in the way sometimes. So, not quite sure when Unreal will start back up. Obviously, I'll continue crossing fingers for us to get back to it, but um, he's having to deal with quite a bit where he's at right at this moment in time. Um, so we're going to be putting the Unreal study session on hold for now. Um, but um, but we still got the Pega certification to continue moving forward through. We have some more videos to make public, and then we got Honkai Star Rail later on tonight. So hopefully you look forward to everything that's going on there. Now, let's get into the main content for right now, which is the Pega environment or Pega certification studies. Now, um, what are these videos all about? Who am I? And why the heck am I doing these videos? So, you know, who am I is fairly easy to explain. I'm currently an unemployed software developer whose last job was working with the Pega environment. Um, my last job, they gave us an authorized training partner to train us on the Pega environment, and um, well, that training partner wasn't really doing a great job. Um, Pretty much um, every single last individual that was in the training group pretty much went self-study by choice. Um, they were not really happy with the authorized training partner to a certain extent. Obviously, everybody has their own personal reasons for that. But if you're thinking along the lines of, well, it's just you, the students that are the problem. Well, no. Even the coworkers found out that you know he had problems. He was causing problems. Um, he mentioned the fact that we'd studied a topic that no that we actually didn't study. So uh, when another employee um, that was in charge of testing our knowledge started testing us on that particular topic, we were like, we never covered that. And he's like, wait, but your instructor, the authorized training partner, said that you did, and we're like, no, we haven't gotten to that part yet. So they knew that we were having issues with the guy. Um, some of us asked to be put back into training, but that never happened. Not a single one of us was put back into another cycle of a training cycle within a different authorized training partner. I would have loved to have done that. I asked for that to happen, but they never agreed to that. So um, they wanted us out into contracts almost immediately, and so they pushed us into contracts, even though um, a lot of us, you know, not myself, a lot of my peers passed it with, you know, like right on the line passing, which isn't great there, folks. Okay. You don't really want to be like, oh my gosh, um, I got a D minus, I passed. It's like, that's not great, you know. Um, that doesn't really bode well in terms of, a person's full understanding of the topic. So, um, and when they pushed for me to get into my certification test, um, y- my I didn't pass at all. I got 6 questions. Um, you know, 6 questions more than the minimum. So questions. So missed, by the way, missed. I was 6 questions short. So, but I knew that I was going to fail. When they told me that I needed to take my certification exam, I knew that my self studies had not covered all the topics of the certification process, and therefore I knew that I wasn't going to pass. I wasn't going to make it. Um, so the um, as much as I would have liked to have, you know, I would have liked to have passed. Um, they, um, they didn't really help me out with that anymore. So they pushed me into their contract, and well, I did what I could to, um, you know, learn as much as I could, but again, didn't really have the best of mentorship at my work at that point as well. So, hey there, Disappear. How you doing? Welcome to the stream. So, yeah, this is my attempt to try to get the system architect certification for the Pega environment. So, I'm doing these videos to not only help myself out in hopes that maybe, veterans will see them and help me with some of the questions that I might have during this process. But they're also there for, you, the viewer that are also watching these videos, um, that also might be, working through your own certification on the Pega environment, and therefore, maybe you have your own questions that you want to ask. So feel free to do that. Feel free to ask those questions if you need to. So, but just bear in mind that I'm not an authorized training partner, and this is not meant to be an instructor-led training. Okay, and I'm still working on my own certification. You know, um, I'm not an instructor or a training partner because I'm not like fully. I don't know everything that there is to know about the Pega environment, so I can't answer all of your questions. But, feel free to ask them anyway, because if I don't know it, then I can always go and talk with my previous coworkers and see if they know the answer. So, don't be afraid to ask those questions. So, um, uh, been quite bad today. Felt sick and tired today, so I slept a lot. Don't think I'll be on the stream for long. No worries, there, Disappear. No worries. You make sure that you get plenty of rest. If you're not feeling well, then make sure that you know bundle yourself up, completely, and you know drink lots of liquids and stay warm. So burn that cold or flu or whatever you got out of you, or at least try to. So okay, but we are going to be um, we're going to be moving on to our dashboard here. Um, so the business architect section for the Pega Academy is done. Okay, the two missions, two modules, we've covered through all those, completely. So if the business architect certification is what you're going after, that's your goal. Um, these are already in my Pega certification playlist. So feel free to go through, look at those two missions, those two modules, and study up as much as you can on the business architect before you consider taking the certification, because it's not going to be an easy process. Okay. Also, these two modules here are barely covering, in my opinion, the Pega Express delivery. So I would recommend, if you're going to go for the Pega Business Architect certification, go for the Pega Express delivery mission at at the minimum. Okay, this is going to be 12% of your overall of the overall questions on the certification. So make sure that you are fully aware and know what you need to do with the Pega Express delivery to get the job done. So keep on, um, you know, look at this after you finish off the business architect. So, but my interest is the system architect certification, so that's where we're going to continue our process. Um, we took care of one particular topic yesterday. Let's go and see what that topic was again. Um, we were in application security. We just went through the security checklist yesterday. So today we're going to be going through the security policies. So, um, let's get into it. And then maybe if we have time at the very end, we'll go through the module quiz. So, okay, security policies, application level and feature security. The time to consider application security is early on, such as the prepare phase of your project, before you begin to build and configure the application. To protect your application from hackers and prevent unauthorized access and use, you need to manage two types of security: application level and feature security. Application level security focuses on protecting the application from outsiders and unauthorized users. For example, with application level security, you reduce the risk of unauthorized users getting into or stealing data from your application. Identify authorized users who need access to the application, and then create password and authentication policies. Application level security considers all the ways you can protect the application, such as using third-party security tools or setting up multi-factor authentication. The goal of application level security is to make it impossible for non-authorized users to break into, read, or otherwise access your application. Alright, so feature security. So feature security focuses on the application by determining the case types, features, and data that authorized users can or cannot access. For example, with feature security, you set up security roles for personas identified in each case type so that authorized users can access the application features they need. Prevent users from viewing features or accessing data to which they should not have access. And design role-based access control, RBAC, attribute-based access control, ABAC, and client-based access control, CBAC. So just just bear in mind, okay, you're gonna need to probably remember every single last one of these. Okay. Thankfully, all you really need to do, all you really need to remember, really, is the first word. Role for R, attribute for A, and then client for C. Everything else is based access control. So if you can remember the first words, the based access control comes right on after. But probably be a good idea to at least, try to remember these for when you go into the certification exam. So, to setting up users and personas, see inviting users to the application. For example, in a payroll application, the business owner wants each manager to be able to view the pay history for their direct report employees, but not view the pay history of peers or other staff members. In addition, no manager can manually change the pay rate of the employee. However, the payroll manager and the CFO can view pay history of all employees as well as update pay rates. As you document the manager or user story, consider what payroll features the manager can and cannot access. Oh, come on. Get it back on there, you son of a stupid cat. Alright. As a best practice, SSA or LSA team members should identify security needs during Discover Sales phase of the project and document them during the design phase. For more details on phases within Pega Express, see Pega Express Delivery. So, alright. Check your knowledge with the following interaction. Oh, SSA and LSA, senior system architect and lead system architect. So just if you're like wondering what those are. Which two statements are true about security? If stakeholders decide to use application level security, you do not need to consider implementing feature level security. No. When setting up security, you need to know which personas are authorized and which personas are not authorized to use each feature. I mean, sure. To ensure security is set up correctly, it is best practice to add security requirements to the definition of done for each feature. To be honest, I don't think they even mentioned definition of done at all, so I'm gonna assume probably not, but we'll move on. I'm leaning towards no on this one. But I mean, I wouldn't say that this isn't necessarily wrong, but um, most likely it's not before definition of done. So that's why it's probably not that one. It's more for the design phase. So security is configured and tested only toward the end of the product development lifecycle. Um, I mean, yeah, for the most part, yeah. But apparently they don't agree. Um, wait, but that's typically when you. I mean, you're definitely going to need to test it towards the end. That's a given. And I mean, security. I mean, security is configured can be done as fairly early as well, especially if you're using personas and the like. So it doesn't necessarily be, it's not only towards the end. So that's why I was like, I was a little hesitant about this one, but um, so I mean, to ensure your application is secure, consider security needs early, such as during the prepare phase. But here's the thing, you still want to test it at the end. Make sure that everything works and like, pretty much throughout the entire process, really. Um, you know, sure, consider application security, but prepping it, preparing for it, using it, you know, tends to be more towards like the end of it all for the most part. So, but apparently they didn't consider that answer is correct. Okay. Um, well, you know, setting up personas, yeah, that was the correct answer. Not surprising on that one. Um, but um, this this doesn't look right at all. It's like you do not need to consider implementing feature level security if there's an application level security. No, you still want feature level security in your application. So what? This doesn't make any sense. If this is the correct answer, then it's wrong. So, I mean, the only other thing that is this is the only other possible choice. So, okay, so that's the one that they wanted to do. Um, but did they even address the definition of done anywhere in here? No, they didn't. Come on, guys. See, this is what I have a problem with their their quizzes sometimes. It's like, hey, we're gonna throw this question at you, and we're gonna check to see whether or not you understand everything and stuff like that. And that's great, but you never address the definition of done at all. You know, prior to this at all. So, you know, I would have definitely seen definition of done prior to this. So, you know, at most they were talking about prepare phase. That's nowhere near definition of done. So, discover and design phase. Again, nowhere near the definition of done. Definition of done is at the very end of the project. So, yeah, they're screwing up there. So, suggest and edit. So, um, the one answer for security being tested at the end was marked wrong, even though um, you know, testing and setting up some security features are typically done at the end of a project. But whatever. I get what you were trying to go for there. And I somewhat agree that you need to consider security early as well. I knew the answer for the um, um, application level security was wrong because you don't want to ignore feature levels security either. But there was no mention of DoD. As you can see in the screenshot, I wanted to see if I missed the definition of done somewhere in the beginning, but no, I didn't. The topic only focused on the prepare and design phases. No mention of DoD. Please fix this oversight, especially if you are going to keep the answer. It's like they never even mentioned this at all in the topic at hand. You know, I don't even think they covered it in the previous topic either. So here, let me make sure. Nope, no definition done in the previous topic either. So you know, once again, they're basically saying, hey, you need to magically understand, what is here, even though we've never told you. And that bothers me sometimes about the Pega Academy. Sometimes um, they give you these questions, they give you these answers, and it's like, wait, you never even talked about these answers prior. How are we supposed to know about these answers if you're not providing them to us? This isn't a proper academy if you're going to leave out information to us. Okay, this, you know, you know, um, now they could always say, well, we put it in a different topic or something like that, right? They could say something like, It's in the Pega source delivery or inviting users to the application links that we put in or something like that. They could try to do crap like that, but let's face it. Um, if they find it important enough to put it into a topic quiz, you know, they're gonna think that this is also very important on the certification. Okay. They're going to want you to understand that this is definitely something that you're going to need to know, for later on. So why do they not cover it in the main topic? So that's all, okay? You know, you shouldn't have something that, if it's something that is like critical to the program, now you're going to want your users to know exactly what, it does, how it goes about doing it, whatever. You need to address it, okay, on your topic. Don't leave it as a little footnote or something like that. It's like, you know, oh my gosh, the Civil War did this and this and this and this and this. All the while, Gettysburg was the final turning point. Or, it's like, what? um, huh? Now, obviously, I'm doing a very broad, you know, uh, American history kind of large, broad paintbrush with that. I get that, but still. But you get my point, okay? It's like, um, you cover this entire topic, and then you don't even cover what many consider is like one of the major final turning points of like the American Civil War, for example. It's like you're not gonna cover this at all, um so that's all. That's my mentality on this. So um they need to address, you know um you know hey, you know, if you're going to address the fact that, best practice is to add security requirements to the definition done, then make sure that you put that up here, you know, because, the design phase and the prepare phase are not part of the definition of done, or at least last time. Remember, they weren't part of the definition of done. Definition of done, it was typically like at the very end of the application cycle. So when the stakeholders, got the final product and were checking to make sure that everything, um, um, everything was done, everything that they wanted to have for the application was being put in and it worked properly. I don't know. Okay, well, we move on. Okay, so application security configuration on Pega platform. One way to limit unauthorized access to your applications is to configure the settings on the Security Policies tab of the application landing page in App Studio. In Dev Studio, open the Configure menu and select Org and Security, Authentication, and Security Policies to view and update the security policies for the entire Pega platform server. Okay. Settings for specific authentication service may override settings on the authentication landing page. Okay. After you update a setting, click Submit at the bottom of the page to record an update. Changes to security policies become active immediately on form submission. Applying appropriate security policies is only one aspect of securing an application. For a complete list of security leading practices, see the security checklist for the Pega platform deployment. The Security Policies tab is separated into Frequently Required Policies section and Other Policies section. Password, CAPTCHA, lockout, and audit are frequently used policies, and multi-factor authentication and operator disablement are other policies. Password governs the strength of users' passwords. Um, I hope that they are also very aware of, um, hacking into, or putting like the uh, does it safeguard against malicious username and passwords? You know, um, so there is that. CAPTCHA. Test whether a person entered the password. Use the CAPTCHA policies section to configure a CAPTCHA to challenge login attempts. When enabled, you can choose between the default implementation or custom implementation. Enable the use of a CAPTCHA on the initial login. Set the likelihood that users receive a CAPTCHA after a failed login. Lockout. Define system behavior when users enter an incorrect password. Use the lockout policies section to customize when and how long users must wait after a failed login attempt. Options listed depend on whether the lockout policy is enabled or disabled. When a lockout penalty is enabled, you can set a threshold value for failed login attempts, set the initial lockout penalty period in seconds, and repeated login failures increase the penalty period automatically. Maintain a log of login failures for a specific number of minutes. When a lockout policy is disabled, you can set the number of allowed failed login attempts before an account is locked. Set the time in minutes for when the user account is locked. Audit. Determines the amount of detail written in the system log for a security issue. Use the audit policies section to customize the level of detail captured for login attempts. Multi-factor authentication. It defines multiple factors or pieces of evidence that users must provide to verify their identity. Use the multi-factor authentication policies, using one-time password, section to configure the settings for a one-time password that is provided to users by email or SMS text message. To complete the login process, users must enter the one-time password within the allowed time. Operator disablement. Defines the duration of inactivity before disabling access for a user. Use the operator disablement policy section to automatically disable access for users who are inactive for a specified number of days. To prevent the system from disabling access for users who need access, add the operator ID record for the user to the exclusion list of operator IDs list. Now, be careful with this too, because if you do add the operator ID record for, to the exclusion list of operator IDs, then, um, let's say you completely forget about adding said user to that list, right? And then that user gets removed from the company and they get fired, right? But if you don't disable their ID, then you are potentially letting that user, you know, still have access to your system, you know. So they could potentially be, be very malicious and come in and start, sabotaging your business or whatever, if they wanted to. And, sure, you might kind of go after them afterwards for damages, but I mean, let's put it this way. Let's say you have a programmer that you put in on the exclusion list of operator IDs. They're like one of the best programmers out there, right? But then they did some like really messed up stuff or something like that. Like maybe they did some sexual harassment or whatever, right? And they get fired from the job because they couldn't keep it in their pants or something or whatever. right? I'm just throwing a scenario out there, right? Um, well, they're on the exclusion list of operator IDs. So who's to say that that programmer can't log into the, back into the, company, um, into the company server and put in some, potentially malicious code in there, like saying, hey, every transaction that happens on a payment, I get 0.0001, penny, added to my bank account or something like that, right? Now, you want maybe you want to think, maybe you would think, oh, that's not much. But let's say, someone does like a million, like you have like a million transactions per day or something like that. Now that person could be getting hundreds of dollars per day, just by having um, that small little code in the background that no one was ever aware of. You know, and that's the thing. If you don't have strong security in your features and your profiles and stuff like that, then who's to say that that can't happen? Okay, so you got to be careful. You got to be careful with your security on that. So, um, okay, so multi-factor authentication policies. Passwords represent one way to authenticate users. To increase security, enable multi-factor authentication to authenticate users. With multi-factor authentication, users gain access only when providing multiple factors or pieces of evidence to verify their identity. Two-factor authentication is a subset of multi-factor authentication in which users provide two pieces of evidence at login. Yeah. So, in the following image, click the plus icons to learn more about the different multi-factor authentication factors. Okay, well, we'll get to the last question there real quick, but knowledge, something that only users know, such as a password. Position, something that only users have, such as a unique mobile number. Inheritance, something that represents an inherited characteristic of users, such as their fingerprint. But more often than not, it's, passwords and the like. Or, or the, like a mobile number, text message kind of thing. So those are obviously the easiest ones because it's kind of hard to do like fingerprint scan or eye scan from like say a mobile device, you know. So check your knowledge with the following interactions. So drag each factor on the right to a corresponding security factor category. So knowledge, choose two. Possession, choose two. Inheritance, choose two. Oh, okay. So facial scan, that's inheritance. Password, that's knowledge. Email account, that's possession. Fingerprint is inheritance. Debit card is possession. And city of birth is knowledge. So there you go. Alright, so that's all well and done right at this moment in time. So we'll go into the module quiz. We'll go ahead and take care of our module quiz here. 3 questions, 5 minutes. Okay, so drag the component definition from the bottom to match the correct security component. So audit policy, operator disablement policy, multi-factor authentication, and then password policies. You have 5 available here, so that's nice. They give us a little bit more, then, so, we could potentially make, more of a mistake, right? So automatically disable access for users who are inactive for a specific number of days. So you typically want that for the operator disablement policy. So uh, customizes the level of detail captured for login attempts. Um, I mean, hmm, I'm not quite sure if that's more of an audit policy or password policy, but we'll hold off on that for right now. Customize requirements for password length, complexity, and predictability. So that's definitely password policies. Employee authentication with a one-time password sent by SMS to a mobile device. That is the multi-factor authentication. User gains access only after providing multiple pieces of evidence to verify their identity. Um, wait, but both of these work for multi-factor authentication. Hmm. All right. Well, yeah, I figured this one is for the audit policy, so I was kind of leaning towards that already, but I wasn't 100% sure. I wanted to make sure. So okay. Employee authentication with one-time password sent by SMS to a mobile device is still a multi-factor authentication. So this is weird. I mean, this isn't necessarily a wrong answer here, so I'm gonna do. Alright, okay. So I'm a bit confused. The remaining answer can still be used for the multi-factor authentic authentication. I'm misspelling that. Oh, jeez. I hate when I mess up on my spelling. I can never get it right sometimes. Uh, authentication. There you go. Um, I mean, it isn't the best answer versus the one that I had put in, but it still works. So maybe change that remaining answer so that it is clearly wrong. Um, Otherwise, you'll have confusion because both of the answers, the one attached already, versus the one that was left behind are correct. You know, I will grant you that this answer here is a better answer for the multi-factor authentication. Okay, because they're talking about providing multiple pieces of evidence, where this one is just a single piece of evidence. Or it's this is an additional or a two-factor authentication more often than not. This is considered more of a two-factor than a multi-factor. Okay, but here's the thing: it's still a multi-factor authentication. It's not just a single password. Okay. Um, so that's why it's like, both of these work there, guys. Oh well. All right. User fails to log in to their account successfully after 2 attempts. As a result, the account is locked for 8 minutes. Which configuration supports this requirement? Drag the correct configuration to the lockout policies box. Well, you never showed this. Now, um, now I can, you know, if you're smart, then you'll be able to figure it out. Okay, and, you'll be able to kind of realize, what this is saying here versus, the only two options that you have here, right? Um, so, um, Right. None of the, neither one of these work. I say that because they're saying that this authentication lockout penalty is completely disabled. Okay, um, so it's not this first one, okay, because you would think, okay, you know, lockout penalty, sure, it's enabled, which they did up there. Okay, that should be fine. Failed in login attempts, 2. I mean that's up there. After 2 attempts, sure, okay, that works. But here's the thing: initial authentication lockout penalty in seconds is 8. It's not 8 seconds; it's 8 minutes that they wanted there. So if you wanted 8 minutes, you'd have to have a lot more seconds here, to equal the 8 minutes. Um, and there was never any mention of the failure's duration in minutes here, so this is clearly not the right answer here, right? So it has to be this one that's up there, right? But here's the thing. They're saying that the authentication lockout is disabled. Um, huh? I'm assuming that this is what they are saying is the correct answer. Yeah, okay. Um, um, oh God. What is going on here, man? I'm finding problem after problem on their questions here. Wait. Wouldn't you want the authentication lockout penalty enabled? Why is the correct answer saying that the lockout penalty is disabled? Okay. So far, 0 out of 2 there, guys. This isn't great. Okay. Um, which 2 statements describe the security checklist feature of Pega platform? Choose 2. Okay, so Identifies critical security tasks based on how you deploy your application. Describes your guardrail compliance score. Tracks the status of security tasks and overall completion. The security tasks that are all required for every application. Um, well, I mean, the security checklist, typically goes for every single application, but I mean that's not necessarily the point here for it. So, um, but I mean, should tracks the status of the security test and overall completion and describes your compliant and guardrail compliance score. If I'm not mistaken, those are both what it does. So I think that's correct. Apparently not. While it is an important security requirement to maintain guardrail compliance, your guardrail compliance score is described on the guardrails landing page. I mean, okay. Let's see. Um, but at the same time, it it does show the fact that it doesn't necessarily show your guardrail score. So, okay. Um, I I don't feel number four is the correct answer there, so I'm gonna go for one there. Identifies critical security tasks based on how you deploy your application. I would have figured that, I mean, it still shows the guardrail compliance, not the score, but it still deals with the guardrail compliance, so I'm assuming that's the correct answer there. So, all right. All right, so um that last answer was the correct one, which I mean I was already kind of leaning towards anyway. So um, now one thing that I want to do now is maybe do do that and see what their answer is there. So maybe their feedback is going to be the same. Maybe it's like, hey, no, it still works. Um, so custom length. Don't want to use that one. Disablement policy and that one. So yeah, see, they're marking this one as wrong, even though technically it is still a multi-factor authentication process. Oh, okay, so for this one, um, okay, so those are the two, one that is actually correct and one that is, wrong. And I want to see their feedback on these just to make sure. So, security tasks you use depend on factors including the Pega platform features that your application uses, how much you customize a Pega platform application, and the amount of sensitive data that is created and stored in the application. Not all security tasks in the security checklist are required for every application, which is true. That's the reason why it's like, um, it's, not something that's like, um, that are required for every application. It doesn't really work out that way. So, all right. Well, that's going to be it for this Pega study session. We've covered that particular topic already, or we're done with that topic. So we're going to be moving on to the next portion of our um, study session tomorrow with the challenge of configuring security policies. So, and then after that, we're going to be monitoring the guardrail compliance score as well. So look forward to those two um, challenges in the next couple days. And hmm, hmm okay, interesting. Oh, just got an email saying that I'm still under consideration for a job post, which is great. It's not necessarily saying, hey, we were looking for an interview with you, but it's still great that I'm still being considered. So that's good. You know, I hope that it does lead to an interview. It can be it can be a really tough thing trying to survive on your savings and unemployment. Um, so you know, it can be tough sometimes when you're out of work. Okay. Well, that's going to be it for today's Pega session. So I want to thank you all for joining me on this session covering the Pega certification. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you got a lot out of it. If you're kind of confused still about, you know, particular topics of it, feel free to go ahead and bring that up in the comment section. Or, if you're right now live in my chat, you're welcome to ask questions like, here and now if you needed to. Um, but we're going to go ahead and close down the video here in the next minute or so. But before I go, I just want to say thank you very much for stopping on by. I want to thank Disappear and Roblox for being here and chatting with me in the chat. I appreciate it. Um, if you're here lurking in the background, I hope you, uh, you know, you also enjoyed the stream, thank you for being here. Um, for everybody here and anybody who's watching the video, I hope that you help me out with the YouTube algorithm with a like and subscribe. Check out my other playlists if any of those interest you. Check out the description for multiple links, such as social media, such as Discord, um, Patreon, and um, um, Patreon and Throne if you want to help me out directly. Or you can check out my stream team, Team Robot, for um, basically a team that's built around everybody helping each other out. Okay. It's meant for, pretty much anybody. Streamers and non-streamers alike are welcome. Um, it's just meant to try to help build everybody up. You know, do what we can um, to lift everybody. So, um, you know, I only have a couple members so far. I'm always looking for more members to continue to get the team to grow. So if that interests you, or check out the application. There's a document there that explains more about the team. If that interests you, I hope to see your application submitted, and I'll be going over that. But that's going to be it for today's session. So thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. Hopefully I catch you next time. But until then, take care. Have a good night. Stay healthy. Stay safe. And I'll catch you strangers next time.